Okay, I'm Karen Monkman. I'm president of CIS this year, and I wanted to welcome everybody to the Jackie Kirk Outstanding Book Award session. We are recording our award sessions this year to facilitate acknowledging the awardees in more detail than we can when we try and do them all within an hour. So I think this will be much watched as we go forward. So I just wanted to welcome everybody. I'm here in my screen with a picture of Jackie Kirk. For those of you who don't know her, she was very active in CIS. I assume, Kara, you might say a little bit, but she was tragically, her end was tragically ended by the Taliban in 2008. And this book award has been done in her name. So I'm going to introduce Kara Brown, who's the award chair of all the awards. And then she will in turn introduce Kara Janigan, who will moderate the session. Kara Brown is, as I said, is our award chair. She's associate professor in the Department of Educational Studies at University of South Carolina. She's a recent past co-chair of the Language Issues SIG and now serves for her second year as our awards chair. Her research is on language policy and equity in education in Estonia and the southeastern US.
Hello, everybody. I'm so thrilled that you've been able to join us from afar. So once again, welcome to this virtual award ceremony. I am thrilled to be able to tell you a little bit about this award and then introduce the committee chair. CIS recognizes an outstanding book annually with this Jackie Kirk Award, who you can see behind Karen, as she mentioned, which honors the professional life and deep dedication of Jackie Kirk to our field and to CIS. The award is supported by the Jackie Kirk Memorial Fund, established in 2010 under the presidency of Gita Steiner-Kamsi through the generous donation of Andrew Kirk, the husband of Jackie Kirk, and by the International Rescue Committee. And it was consolidated in 2012 under the presidency of Ratna Ghosh. The Jackie Kirk Award annually honors a published book that reflects one or some of the varied interests and expertise represented in Jackie Kirk's areas of commitment, primarily gender and education or education and conflict, fragile states and post-conflict and peace education. Kirk was also committed to work on identity, particularly girls and teachers, globalization as a context for local practice, and visual participatory research methodologies. Finally, she was professionally committed to encouraging dynamic and equitable collaboration between academics and practitioners, the Global South and the Global North, and comparative international educators and teachers on the ground. So that's a little bit about Jackie Kirk, the history of the award, and what we as a society are trying to honor through this award. And this is the spirit of her legacy. So with that background, I am thrilled to introduce Dr. Kara Janigan. This is the Karas. You didn't know you were coming into the show of Karas, but it ends up being the show of Karas, who worked tirelessly and with great diligence along with the committee on this award as the chair. So I want to recognize her leadership and all that she did to make this possible. And she will now introduce the book award winners, which we're thrilled to have with us. I will pass the virtual floor over to Kara.
Thank you very much. So as the chair of the committee and on behalf of the members of the committee, I am so happy to congratulate our two winners on winning this Jackie Kirk Award. I did know Jackie. Jackie was amazing and committed, and I know that she would love your book, does love your book, looking down on us. And I also want to thank the committee members. So the committee was made up of myself, Heather Switzer from Arizona State University, and she won the 2020 Jackie Kirk Award. Yasmina Yosik from Education Development, Sandra Stacky from Hofstra University, and Michelle Savard from Concordia University. So I want to thank them for their time and efforts. So the committee believes that your outstanding book makes a valuable contribution to our field for several reasons. Your book enables readers to learn valuable insights into the Borderless Higher Education Refugee Project. This long-term project, founded on a social justice approach with a focus on gender relations and intersecting inequalities, delivers tuition-free university degree programs in two of the largest protracted refugee camps in the world, Dadaab and Kakuma in Kenya. As one of our committee members notes, this is from Heather Switzer, this book is grounded in case studies and examples that bring to life the realities of living and learning in and from a refugee camp, and what this means, not only to the students, but also for the staff and professors, some who taught online only, others who also taught in the camps, and the unforgettable lessons they learned from the Dadaab and Kakuma students. We appreciate your ambitious efforts to use a collaborative approach with authors from the Global South and the Global North, including authors who are academics, NGO workers, and as well as students from the camps. Your book sheds light on the realities and challenges of working across these contexts, grounded in a truly respectful and equitable approach within your partnerships. As I lead you into your chance to talk, I will end with a quote from Sandra Stacky, one of the committee members, who sums up your book and your work well, I think. Working within a social justice framework, especially noting gender equity goals, the authors in the Giles and Miller text emphasize the collaboration and challenges of many partners in Canada and Kenya in their continued efforts to provide higher education and resilience pedagogy, both online and in person, to students in troubled refugee camps. So congratulations to you, Wenona and Lorrie, together, co-editors, and all of your authors. I know you had many, many people contributing to this work. So I will turn the floor over to you now, and congratulations once again.
Thank you very much. That was a wonderful introduction, Kara and Kara. Lorrie Miller and I are here really on behalf of all of the chapter authors of the book to accept this really wonderful award. We're really so honored and excited to receive the Jackie Kirk Award for the book, Borderless Higher Education, Lessons from the Dadaab Refugee Camps. I didn't know Dr. Kirk, although I do feel an intellectual kinship with her and the goals she strove to achieve and the life she lived to achieve them. Her appointment to the Faculty of Education at McGill University and her important work on girls' education for the International Rescue Committee brought her scholarship and activism together. By all accounts, she was an extraordinary person. We would first of all like to thank then the Comparative and International Education Society committee, the very committee that considered our book for this award. It takes time and commitment to do such things. We also want to thank our publisher, Bloomsbury Press in the UK, who were really a charm to work with. Before we turn to the book, we'd also like to thank those many individuals who generously offered advice and critique on aspects of this book. Aida Orgoka, Michelle Millard, and Ron Shrigley, as well as the Book Advisory Committee, Don Dippo at York, Josephine Guitome at Kenyatta University, Isabel Mbai at Moy University, and Samson Nashon at UBC, University of British Columbia. I think the book speaks for itself, so for my part, I'm going to read a few brief sections in the introduction that define our goals in reading the book before handing the mic to Lorrie Miller, my co-author, co-editor. So I'll begin really at the beginning. The first paragraph of the book really, I think, is the it raises the questions that led us into the book. And so on page 1, we say the refugee camp as a university campus. That was the dream. This book tells the story of university partners in Canada and Kenya who collaborated to change glasses always to read. It tells the story of university partners in Canada and Kenya who collaborated in the development and delivery of tuition-free academic programs for refugees living in 2 of the largest camps in the world, Dadaab and Kakuma. Was the endeavor successful? Was it worthwhile? And big question, if it was successful, who was it successful for? Well, we wrote the book for really 2 audiences, and this is what we tell you in the book. One of the audiences, men and women, who are living in the refugee camps who want access to university programs and to accreditation. And the universities that wanted to engage in global North-South partnerships to offer university programs and accreditation. And I want us to remember, I mean, it really was that what we're really interested in the BEAR project and in this book is in the book documenting the global North-South partnerships, because there are a number of programs out there offering university degrees and accreditation, but they aren't necessarily partnerships. Our approach in the book, those who have contributed chapters to this book are mindful of the powerful and cultural critiques of post-colonial scholars concerning the tragedy of colonial and imperial forms of education. And this was uppermost in our minds as we worked on the BEAR project, and it remained so for the book. Many of the same authors have experienced firsthand the ambivalent relationship of education to colonialism that Risby, Lingard, and Lavia describe as follows. On the one hand, they say, education, is an object of post-colonial critique regarding its complicity with Eurocentric discourses and practices. On the other hand, it is only through education that it becomes possible to reveal and resist colonialism's continuing hold on our imagination. So it's a real, I mean, we really were grappling with very, contradictory kinds of issues in the project. We explore the argument by some scholars that North-South collaborations are not possible and will never produce good results in the global South. Such an approach is aligned with ideas that schooling from the North is always bad for the South, and that Western, so-called Western education, inevitably exterminates traditional knowledge and culture. In this volume, chapter authors provide evidence that global North-South partnerships can work well and do produce good results for both North and South when the participating institutions are prepared to struggle through challenges arising from availability of resources and limitations of performance-driven results and cultural and pedagogical differences, technological deficits and course delivery, all of these kinds of issues. Finally, let me just say, then this goes to the whole issue of, we're turning here to Arendt. Hannah Arendt was quite a guiding light for us as well in the project. Based on the idea that the neighborhood in the world has changed, we take the approach that the responsibility of the university has thus also changed. We build on the work of Hannah Arendt to argue for the development of worldly universities, rather than the constant striving and competition among universities today to build world-class universities. And I encourage you to go back and read Arendt in this regard. We stretch an interpretation of her ideas of worldliness that we consider to be a promotion of the development of individuals so that they too can join in the making of that world. In the firm belief that ideas matter and are of consequence, the worldly university understands the problems, issues, and affairs of the world as its own and accepts responsibility to to think deeply about them and act. So it's a call here. The book is really a call to universities, to challenge. And I know that York University felt constantly challenged by what we were trying to do by hosting the Bear Project for so many years. And I have to really I feel so thankful to York for doing this among many of the other universities and UBC as well. So I'll just end with a few questions. And these are also in the book. How can power dynamics be reshaped through higher education, especially as these pertain to gender and ethnic relationships and racialization? Is there a space for universities to be part of a changing humanitarian landscape? And then just ending here, by helping produce the human capital necessary to address fragility and conflict, can universities bridge the gap resulting from the siloed actions of humanitarian and development actors? The first, humanitarian actors concerned with life-saving interventions, and the second, development actors concerned with systems change. So I'll leave it there and pass to Lorrie Miller, my wonderful colleague, writing colleague, and it's been a pleasure to get to know each other better through, which one always does when working on books together. So Lorrie, please go ahead.
Thank you, Wenona. That's a wonderful introduction, and I want to reiterate my thanks to the committee for considering this book and raising the issues that we've brought in the book to light, and hopefully this prize will also help reach a broader audience. I'd like to also thank in particular two of my UBC colleagues, Dr. Rita Irwin and Dr. Samson Nashon. Without their tireless work, I wouldn't have been invited in to work on this project in the first place. Little did I know what I was in for. So it was from 2014 onwards. And it was a wonderful experience to not only support the instructors and the students in the Bear Project, but then later on to work with Wenona and the other authors in editing and producing this book. It was an absolute pleasure. One of my career highlights, I say, to have been involved in both parts, the project and also this book. Wenona has been a wonderful mentor and collaborator for this book. And she introduced me to an editing process that began in 2017 in Toronto. Maybe it was 18. I'm trying to remember the exact year, where those that were interested, and that included all partners from all the institutions, North and South, to come to Toronto for a 3-day book conference, as it were, introducing the chapters, where we all had preliminary introductions to the chapters and provided feedback to one another in a very collaborative and meaningful forum. It was, I think, brought a richness to the stories and a collaboration. It allowed people to work together or bringing chapters together to reshape the book before it really took hold. So that was an excellent experience to be a part of that, and to see that kind of collaboration outside of sitting at your computer and writing. It was very much collaborative. I want to bring into, I have just a couple little items in here about the reflection and response. And one of the reasons why we needed to do this work was as a response to the UNESCO's 2009 call. And I'll just read it out rather than try to summarize it all. In their document, accumulated institutional memories and knowledge in governments, agencies, and NGOs on education in emergencies are in danger of being lost due to both the dispersion and disappearance of documents and to high staff turnover. Most of the expertise is still in the heads of practitioners and needs to be collected, since memories fade fast. So the authors of this book go beyond the call for documentation to examine how and why aspects of the BEAR project succeeded or failed. So when people work on these big projects for a long period of time, often they're financially linked to a particular amount of time. And so when they leave, there might be some year-end reports, but they often will end there rather than going to a broader audience to really understand what are the challenges and the successes of these kinds of long-term and collaborative projects. So that was part of what we wanted to do, was to document this in order to share it further. The second piece, which I find particularly interesting, was that the experience there was really about two-way learning, where the instructors, the staff, and the students learn together. They're learning different things, but so many of the people, and I saw Elizabeth Jordan here on the call, who is one of the instructors, came to my office and would tell me the things that were happening in the classroom while she was on site in Dadaab. And I heard these kinds of stories. I thought, this is rich work that needs to be put down onto paper. And so I was just very grateful for the learning from the students, from the staff, and to see what kinds of ways people can work together to make these kinds of projects happen. It gives me hope for humanity, and to see the kinds of work that can happen. In addition, and one last thing, is the notion of having higher education in situ is critical. It's not good enough for universities to say that the best and the brightest get to come to our institutions, but they're leaving their homes. It's like we're poaching the best and the brightest out of the context where they're needed the most. And by doing this kind of work, we've proven out, and I know other organizations or projects are happening as well, are able to provide education so that the people in these fragile zones can continue to flourish and better their own situation and drive the destiny for that. So it's not us going in and doing that for them. We're providing a platform and support, but they're leading that train, they're driving that bus. But again, I'd like to thank everybody for acknowledging our work on this. It was wonderful, and I hope that it's got long legs to carry further. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for that overview, and it's just tempting for those of us who have not had the chance yet to read the volume. It's just wonderful to hear these rich details, and I'm eager to pick it up. So once again, congratulations, Lorrie and Wenona, and the whole team that put together this important edited volume. So congratulations again.
Yes, for sure. I want to say congratulations again. It was a really interesting read. Certainly there's not many books like it. And I appreciate what you just said about documenting, for sure. Reports get written and they don't go outside of the institutions. So it's wonderful. So congratulations.
So thank you, everybody, for attending. We will be posting this recording on CIS's YouTube channel, so you can watch it again if you'd like to. The book sounds fabulous, and it is now on my list. So thank you, and I look forward to taking a look.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.